Hey guys, and welcome to the Fish Room. I'm Rachel O'Leary, and today we're setting up another aquarium in order to house that little tree from the one that burst yesterday. Now, there were a lot of comments on that video saying that I should have glued or taped the aquarium, and I just wanted to show you a closer look at the crack because it was huge, and it was a whole way down to the bottom, just an inch above the bottom of the aquarium. And also that hardscape was all glued together and glued to the aquarium, so there was no way to transplant it in one piece. Kevin very much made that to be a permanent fixture in that aquarium, and there was not a good way to move it without, unfortunately, destroying it. So today I went into my stash of extra tanks, which is quite a lot, embarrassingly, and I pulled out a fluval EB. And I did that just because I had it here. It's brand new, it's not used, and it was about the right size to rehome that ficus. Now I'm still waiting to hear back from the creator of the tank that broke to find out exactly what I need to do to keep that little tree happy in a new environment. But for now, I've set up this little aquarium with some dragonstone, the stratum that came with it, and then just mounted the tree in the filter compartment with the bulk of the tree out of the water, but with that wicking fabric and the roots in the water. Now, I'm not sure how important it is for it to have any sort of rooting media. So again, I may have to change this up entirely, but for now at least I have a solution where the tree is supported. It's in a spot in the fish room that I know it's happy, and now I get to stock another aquarium. The guppies are doing just fine in the aquarium I moved them to, and you know, never a dull moment in the day of a life of a fish pimp. Anyway, I just thought I'd show you real quick the process of setting up this new aquarium. Now, this was just using some of the broken materials from the aquarium that burst yesterday, and again, the stuff that came with the kit. I'll probably put shrimp in this aquarium because it's too small to be suitable for anything else. As always, I want to know what you think. What do you think of the Scape? What do you think of my solution to this dilemma? And what kind of shrimp would you like to see in this aquarium? Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any of my upcoming videos, and have that notification bell on. And as always, thank you for your continued support. I started by just pulling out all of the old hardscape from the aquarium that burst yesterday and just sort of looking at it to see what would work. Now, this is dragonstone, and dragonstone has a really, really dynamic look to it. So I try and match pieces that have the same sort of directional element, or ones that could possibly have come from the same parent stone, so that it looks a bit more cohesive. Now, there was a ton of hardscape in that other aquarium, which was at least 3 times the size of this one, so I could only use a few pieces. And I was trying to stack them in a way that they would be secure enough that they wouldn't fall over during maintenance, and that they would still look nice. Now, this is most likely a temporary tank until I figure out exactly what that tree needs. But I figured for now I could set something up and have it look at least halfway decent. There was a lot of back and forth about picking the stones and supporting the stones, and really just making sure things would look as good as possible for the time this aquarium is set up. Now, because this aquarium is so small, I really feel like it's inappropriate for any fish, though I will likely stick some shrimp in here. This particular tank does have a shrimp pre-filter, which is a nice modification that Fluval has made to these kits that didn't exist when I set up my Fluval 5-gallon spec. Now you can see it's just, that's probably 10 or 12 pieces of stone I stuck together, and I'm still sort of fine-tuning things at this point. This stone is taking up a lot of volume from this aquarium, so again, it's really just only appropriate for a few shrimp. But I managed to sort of piece it together in a way that it seemed pretty stable, and I thought it looked pretty nice. Let me know what you guys think down below. It was kind of a pain in the butt, and it took me about an hour to get it to this point where it was stable. So then I'm adding in the fluval stratum, which came with the kit, and I'm going to be using the entire bag, and I do not rinse any of these substrates. I'll then take a paintbrush and just move the substrate around so that it gets in between all the nooks and crannies of the various rocks in order to provide more support for them. The reason I used a paintbrush instead of my substrate tool is, again, because of all those nooks and crannies in the dragonstone. I wanted to be able to get the substrate out of those holes and really place it where I wanted it to support this stonework in this little tiny aquarium. For the most part, I'm pretty happy with it. Again, I'm not sure how long I'll leave this set up. I'm waiting to hear back about the requirements for that ficus to make sure I can really preserve it, because I think it's really gorgeous and just a really unique plant that I want to make sure has a good environment. So for now, we just set up this little speck as a holding place for it in a spot in the fish room that I know already that it does well. Next, I just, again, fiddled with some rocks and took some in and put some out, and really just was having a hard time making things make sense in this aquarium. But eventually I got it to a point where I was relatively satisfied. It's really, really hard to work in these teeny tiny aquariums. Again, you know, this is a lot of stone in this little aquarium, which compromises the total volume. And that has to be taken into consideration when you're deciding your stocking. I then just put in the rest of the substrate in the back. Now there is a small slot in the back third quadrant of that aquarium for the filter intake. So I made sure that none of my substrate or decor was blocking that, as well as making sure that I would be able to fit an algae scraper in between the rocks and the glass to be able to clean this appropriately as it needs it. Now, all these rocks were kept damp overnight, so the beneficial bacteria that is living on them is still intact. And I'm using the same plants, at least the Anubias from the previous scape. And I'm just sticking them in any sort of nook and cranny that suits my fancy. Now, I'm not bothering to glue at all because, again, dragonstone has all these holes, which is really, really amazing for these rhizome plants to root to. So I find it to be totally unnecessary to try and permanently adhere them, as they do it on their own in a relatively short amount of time. The goals for this aquarium, again, are just to be low maintenance, low tech. I did go through and trim the roots of the Anubias before I put them in there. That will help encourage growth to the leaves and just make it a little less unsightly in the aquarium. I used quite a heap and handful of the various Anubias, and then I just filled it up by putting my hose in the back compartment, and that way the substrate wouldn't get blown all over or make a big mess clouding the tank. It's really with these kits especially, it's the easiest way to fill them up. Up next, I just installed the light and turned on the filter, and then took a look. I took my rag, cleaned the glass, I took my net, caught some of the floating plant debris, and then simply placed that ficus in the back compartment so that the base of the plant and the body of the plant was above the water. But you can see the wicking fabric and the roots. Those I placed on top of the sponge in that compartment in the back. Now again, this is not going to be a good long-term solution because it'll compromise me being able to clean the filter. But for now, I'm hoping it will provide some stability for this really, really cool tree and some visual interest in this corner of the fish room. It just looked so empty with only the one aquarium there, and I really wanted to resurrect the nano corner as quickly as possible. I then just stuck in a few more pieces of Anubias where I thought it looked appropriate, and who knows, maybe in the future I'll add in, if I keep this tank running, maybe I'll add in some more plants. But for now, it's a simple, low light, low tech, easy aquarium that will hopefully support this ficus really well, and I think it's a nice foil to the other nano beside it. The tree seems no worse from the wear for its overnight adventures in Captain Cranky Pants filter, but I really was just concerned that it would not do well long term in there because there was no light, and it was just sort of free floating. Anyway, this is the end result of the nano corner. Let me know what you guys think. You think this is a good solution? What kind of shrimp would you like to see in this aquarium? I have a lot of options in the fish room. And let me know if you think I should keep this as a permanent solution in the fish room, or if you think I should build something else for this tree.